I remember the day my wife told me she wanted a divorce. It was one of those moments that freezes time. I don't even know how to explain it. The world didn't just stop, it seemed to spin faster, leaving me dizzy and unable to catch my breath. The words came out of nowhere, as if we were living in parallel universes and hadn't realized how far apart we had drifted. We were sitting at the kitchen table, just like any other evening. The smell of dinner still lingered in the air, the clinking of silverware in the background from the quiet hum of the TV. I had just finished asking about her day when she said it, so casually, like she was telling me about the weather. I want a divorce. I remember the way my heart skipped, how the blood seemed to drain from my face. For a split second, I thought I misheard her. No, but there was no mistaking the expression in her eyes. It was cold. It was final. It was as if she had been holding on to these words for a long time, waiting for the right moment to let them out. I didn't know what to say. In fact, my mind went blank. I just sat there, staring at her. She didn't seem upset. She didn't seem angry. It was as though she had made peace with it, while I was still stuck in shock. How could you say that? I finally managed to ask, my voice cracking. After everything we've been through? After all this time? But she didn't flinch. She didn't try to explain herself. She just looked at me almost apologetically and said, "I'm sorry, but I don't feel the same anymore." I was stunned. How could she say that? We had been married for years. We had built a life together. And yet, in one simple sentence, everything I thought was real, everything I thought we had, was thrown into question. What happened to us? I asked, more to myself than to her. How did we get here? I'd always thought that we were happy. Sure, we had our problems, our fights, but what marriage didn't? It wasn't perfect, but we made it work. Or so I thought. But now, sitting across from her, I realized just how much I had missed. I had missed the signs, the growing distance between us, the late nights she spent working, the excuses, the lack of affection. I had seen them, but I had ignored them, thinking everything would be fine. How wrong I was. She didn't cry. She didn't even seem upset. It was as if this was something she had been planning for a while, something that had been building inside her for months. And I couldn't help but wonder, when did I become the person who was no longer enough? I wanted to ask her why, to dig deeper, to understand what led to this. But every time I opened my mouth, the words caught in my throat. I was too hurt, too confused, too betrayed. I've thought about it long and hard, she continued, her voice calm, almost detached. And I think it's the best thing for both of us. We're just not right for each other anymore. I didn't know what to say. There was a part of me that wanted to argue, to fight for us, but another part of me, the part that was being slowly crushed by the weight of her indifference, knew it was pointless. Is there someone else? I finally asked, the words escaping before I could stop them. She hesitated for a moment, and I could see the flicker of guilt in her eyes. But she didn't answer. And the silence spoke louder than any words could. I wanted to leave, to walk out the door and never look back. But I couldn't. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want this. I didn't want to lose her. But I could see it in her eyes. Her mind was made up. "I'm sorry," she said again, her voice so soft now, but still lacking any real emotion. "I really am. But this is for the best. You'll see." I didn't say anything else. What was there left to say? I stood up, feeling like I was walking in a fog, my body moving without my mind guiding it. I walked to the door, but I didn't leave. I just stood there, leaning against the frame, staring at the floor. She was packing her things over the next few days. I didn't protest. I didn't beg her to stay. Maybe it was because I knew it was futile. Maybe because a part of me had already given up. A part of me had already known this day would come. I didn't know where we went wrong. Maybe I had missed the signs. Or maybe she had changed and I didn't realize it. Either way, I was standing there, watching the woman I had shared my life with walk away. But then something strange happened. She didn't seem sad. She didn't seem broken. She seemed almost relieved. There was a lightness in her step, a certain freedom in her eyes that I had never seen before. It was like she was shedding a heavy burden and stepping into something new. The realization hit me like a slap across the face. She had been waiting for this. She had been waiting for the divorce to come. It wasn't something sudden, something unexpected. This was something she had been planning. I was just too blind to see it. And as I watched her pack her things, I realized that I wasn't just losing my wife. I was losing everything I thought I knew about her. 2 days later, as I was sitting in the living room, trying to process everything, I got a call. It was from Emily's sister, Sarah. "Hey," she said, her voice almost too cheery. "I just wanted to check in on you. Is everything all right?" I couldn't understand why she was calling. After everything that had happened, after what Emily had done, I wasn't sure I wanted to talk to anyone from her family. But something about Sarah's tone, something in the way she asked if I was okay, made me hesitate. Maybe I was just lonely. Maybe I just needed to hear a familiar voice. "Yeah," I replied, my voice distant, unsure. "I'm fine. Just, trying to figure everything out." "I understand," Sarah said, her voice still light, but there was something else underneath it. "But listen, I'm here for you if you need to talk. I know things have been difficult lately, but I want you to know that I'm here. You're not alone in this." For a moment, I was silent. Her words felt like a comfort, but I wasn't sure I could trust them. She had always been friendly, always been there for us as a couple. But now everything felt different. "I appreciate that," I said finally, "but I think I need some time. I'm just not ready to talk to anyone right now." There was a pause on the other end of the line, and then, in a voice so calm and matter of fact, Sarah said, "It's okay, I get it. But I'll be honest with you, I've been wanting to tell you something." My heart skipped a beat. Something about her tone made me uneasy, like she was about to drop a bombshell. I didn't know if I was ready for this, but there was something in the way she said it that made me feel like I had to hear her out. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I think you should know that Emily's been seeing someone else," Sarah said, her words coming out so casually like it was no big deal. My heart stopped. It felt like the floor had fallen out from beneath me. I didn't know what to say. The words didn't make sense. "She's been seeing someone?" I asked, almost to myself. "How do you know?" "Well, she hasn't been very discreet about it," Sarah replied, her voice almost too nonchalant. "I'm sure she didn't mean for you to find out, but you should know. I think it's time you knew the truth." My mind was racing, my heart pounding in my chest as I processed Sarah's words. I didn't know what to say. Say didn't know how to react. The world felt like it was crumbling around me. My own wife, the woman I had spent years building a life with, had been seeing someone else. I thought I was prepared for it. After everything, I thought I had prepared myself for the worst. But nothing could have prepared me for this. "You're sure about this?" I asked, my voice tight, barely above a whisper. "Are you sure she's been seeing someone?" There was a long pause on the other end of the line, and I could feel Sarah hesitate. I wasn't sure if it was guilt or something else, but it was enough to make me question everything. "I've seen the messages," she said finally, her voice lower now, almost regretful. "I didn't want to get involved, but I couldn't just sit by and let you be in the dark. She's been talking to him for a while now. I'm sorry, but I think you deserve to know." I could feel the blood rush to my head, my hands trembling as I gripped the phone tightly. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shout at Sarah, to demand answers, to understand how all of this happened. How had I not seen it? How had I been so blind? But at the same time, I couldn't help but feel relieved. Not because I was happy about the truth coming to light, but because I finally had an answer. I finally understood why everything had changed. It wasn't me. It wasn't something I had done. It was her. She had already checked out of our marriage long before I even knew it. She had made her choice, and it wasn't me. I sat there in silence for a long time, letting her words sink in, letting the weight of it all wash over me. The betrayal felt like a physical thing, a heavy weight pressing down on my chest. My mind was spinning, and I had no idea how to process it. But one thing was clear. Everything I had built, everything I had worked for, had been a lie. Finally, I broke the silence. "How long has this been going on?" I asked, my voice hoarse. I didn't want to know, but I needed to. "I don't know exactly," Sarah replied, her tone softer now. but I think it's been a few months. She's been sneaking around, talking to him behind your back. I don't know what to tell you, but I thought you should know. A few months. That's how long she had been seeing someone else lying to me, hiding it all while I was left in the dark. I felt sick to my stomach, like I was going to throw up. How could she do this? How could she betray me like this? And worse, how could I have been so blind, so trusting, to not see it? The silence stretched on, thick and suffocating. My mind was racing, but I couldn't find the words. I didn't know how to process what Sarah had just told me. I didn't know how to handle the fact that the woman I had loved, the woman I had shared my life with, had been lying to me for so long. Are you sure this is the truth? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Are you sure she's really seeing someone? I'm sure, Sarah said, her voice quiet but firm. I wouldn't tell you this if I wasn't. I'm just telling you because I think you deserve to know the truth. I let out a shaky breath, feeling like I had been hit by a truck. My head was spinning, and the world around me seemed to blur. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality, like everything I had known was slipping away. Thanks for telling me, I said finally, the words feeling hollow. I don't know what to do with this, but I appreciate you being honest with me. I'm sorry, Sarah said again, her voice laced with regret. I never wanted it to go this far, but you deserve to know. I ended the call shortly after, my hands shaking as I put the phone down. I couldn't sit still. I couldn't breathe. My mind was racing, a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions crashing together. I kept replaying the conversation with Sarah over and over in my head. Emily had been seeing someone else for months. She had betrayed me in the worst way possible. And now, the truth was out in the open. But what was I supposed to do with it? What could I do? Was I supposed to confront Emily, demand answers, or walk away from everything? How could I rebuild from this? I walked around the house aimlessly, and my body moving without my mind guiding it. I passed by the living room where we used to sit together, the kitchen where we used to cook meals together. Everything seemed so empty now. The house, once filled with life, now felt like a hollow shell. I could still feel her presence, her absence, in every room. But I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do next. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to stay or leave. I wasn't sure if I could forgive her, if I could ever trust her again. I didn't know if there was anything left to save. But deep down, I also knew that this wasn't just about her. It was about me, too. It was about what I had become in this marriage. I had spent so much time trying to make her happy, trying to fix everything. But I had ignored my own needs, my own desires. I had let myself be swallowed by the relationship and letting go of the parts of me that mattered. And now, standing here, I was left with nothing but pain and regret. I couldn't stay in the house any longer. The walls felt like they were closing in on me, the silence unbearable. My own thoughts were too loud, too overwhelming. I had to get out. I needed space to think, to process everything that had been thrown at me in the past few days. I grabbed my keys and walked out the door, not really knowing where I was going. The streets outside were quiet, the world moving at its normal pace, unaware of the chaos that had just been unleashed in my life. The cool night air hit my face, and I let it wash over me, as if I could somehow breathe in clarity, breathe in some kind of answer to the storm of emotions inside me. I didn't know where I was going, but I just kept walking. Yeah, and the pain in my chest was too much. The betrayal too fresh. How could she do this to me? How could she lie to my face for months, keeping this secret while I was there, living in the illusion of a happy marriage? I walked for what felt like hours, letting my feet guide me, not caring where I ended up. All I could think about was how foolish I had been. How could I have not seen it? How could I have ignored all the signs? The late nights, the sudden distance, the excuses. It had all been right in front of me, and I had been too blind, too trusting to acknowledge it. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I pulled it out, dreading who it might be. But when I saw her name on the screen, a wave of anger rushed through me. Emily. I hadn't heard from her since that night, since the dinner table, since the conversation with her sister. My heart started pounding in my chest again, the fury rising to the surface. I didn't want to pick up. I didn't want to hear her voice, to hear her apologies, her excuses, but I couldn't stop myself. I tapped the screen and answered. Hello? My voice was tight, barely controlled. Hey, Emily's voice came through soft and hesitant. I need to talk to you. I didn't respond immediately. I just stood there, trying to calm the storm inside me. How could she want to talk? What was there left to say? She had already made her decision. She had already chosen. What was left for us to discuss? I don't know if we need to talk, I said, my voice flat. You've already made it clear where you stand. I know. I know I messed up, she said, her voice trembling now, the sincerity in her tone cutting through the anger. But I can't keep pretending like everything is okay. Please, can we just talk? Can we try to figure this out? I was quiet for a moment, the conflict inside me raging. A part of me wanted to slam the phone down, to tell her I was done. But another part, the part that had loved her for so long, was still holding on, still wanting to believe that there was some way to fix this. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. What is there to figure out? I asked, my words barely above a whisper. You've already made your choice. You've already betrayed me. What's left to talk about? I know, she said, her voice thick with emotion. But I'm asking for a chance. Not to go back to how we were, but to rebuild. I don't want to lose you. I want to make this right. Her words hit me hard, and for a moment I almost believed her. Or I wanted to. I wanted to believe that we could rebuild, that we could start fresh. But every time I thought about what she had done, about the betrayal, about the lies, the anger flared up again. I was quiet for a long time, the silence between us deafening. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if I even wanted to try anymore. The hurt was too deep, too raw. I didn't know if I could look at her the same way again. I don't know, Emily, I said, my voice barely audible. I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't know if I can trust you again. I understand, she whispered. I know it's going to take time, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Her words were filled with desperation, but I couldn't bring myself to believe them. I had been fooled before, hadn't I? I had trusted her. I had believed in us. But now I was left here, was shattered and broken, trying to figure out if it was worth trying again. I don't know if I'm ready for this, I said, my voice cracking. I don't know if I can ever feel the same way again. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice full of regret. I don't know how to fix this, but I'll try. I'll do anything. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to tell her how much she had hurt me, how much she had broken me. But the words wouldn't come. I just stood there, the weight of the situation pressing down on me, suffocating me. I can't talk right now, I finally said, my voice thick with emotion. I need time. I need space. Okay, she said softly. I understand. But please know that I love you. I don't want to lose you. I didn't respond. I didn't know how to. All I could do was hang up the phone and stand there, my mind a whirlwind of emotions, trying to make sense of everything. The next few days were a blur. I went through the motions of my daily life, trying to keep busy, trying to distract myself from the pain. But nothing worked. The betrayal was still there, gnawing at me, reminding me that I had been a fool, that I had trusted her with everything and she had tossed it all away. The house felt empty. The silence was deafening. I couldn't escape it. I couldn't escape the memories of what had happened, the images of her with someone else, the thought that she had been lying to me for so long. How had I not seen it? How had I been so blind? And then one night, I received another call. This time, it wasn't from Emily. It was Claire. I didn't know what to expect. My stomach churned at the thought of talking to her, the woman who had been involved in all of this, the one who had contributed to the destruction of everything I had loved. Hello, I answered, my voice tight. Hey, Claire said, her voice calm but with a strange edge to it. I think we need to talk. I could feel my pulse quicken. Talk? After everything that had happened, after the betrayal, after everything she and Emily had done, what could she possibly want to talk about? I don't think there's anything left to say, I said, my voice cold, detached. But Claire was persistent. Listen, I know this is hard, but I'm not trying to make things worse. I just want to explain some things. I didn't know if I was ready to hear anything from her, but I couldn't stop myself. Explain what? She sighed deeply, not like she had been holding on to something for a long time. I think you need to know the whole truth. I think you need to understand why things happened the way they did. I felt a cold chill spread through me as Claire's words sank in. She wanted to explain? After everything that had happened, after all the lies, after the betrayal from both her and Emily, she wanted to explain. What could she possibly say that would make this any better? How could any explanation undo the damage they had done? But part of me, a small part that still clung to the remnants of what we had, was curious. Maybe I was fooling myself, hoping that there was some hidden truth that could make sense of everything. Some reason that could make the hurt a little more bearable. Or maybe, deep down, I was just tired of carrying this weight alone. Maybe hearing the truth would help me understand how we had gotten here. How the life I thought I was living was really just a fraud. All right, I said, my voice colder than I intended. Talk. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I was ready to hear it. But Claire continued anyway, her voice measured, but carrying a weight I hadn't expected. I know this is hard to hear, she began, but there's a lot you don't know. There's more to this than just Emily's actions. It's not that simple. I closed my eyes, trying to keep my emotions in check. I had to hear her out. I had to. But every fiber of my being wanted to hang up the phone, to walk away from the pain. But I couldn't. Not yet. I don't know what you mean, I said, trying to steady my breath. What more is there? But what could possibly make the situation worse? Claire sighed, her voice filled with frustration. It's not about making it worse. It's about telling you the whole truth. Emily and I, we haven't exactly been honest with you. Not just about the affair, but about the state of our marriage. She didn't just wake up one day and decide to cheat on you. She had been unhappy for a long time, but she didn't know how to tell you. She didn't know how to admit that she wasn't feeling fulfilled. My heart tightened as I listened. Unfulfilled? I repeated, my voice tinged with disbelief. She couldn't talk to me? After everything we went through together, she couldn't come to me and tell me that she wasn't happy? She had to go behind my back, and I stopped, unable to finish the sentence. I know. I know, Claire interrupted, her voice soft now. Nah, like she was trying to ease the blow. I'm not defending her, okay? What she did was wrong. But there's more. She didn't feel like she was getting what she needed from you emotionally. She felt isolated, like you weren't listening, like you weren't really there for her anymore. The words hit me like a sledgehammer. Was this true? Had I really been so distant, so preoccupied with everything else in my life, that I had failed to notice what was happening to us? I had been so focused on trying to keep everything together, on managing our finances, our responsibilities, our future. I had been so sure that everything was fine, that we were fine. But now, as Claire's words echoed in my head, I realized that maybe I had been blind to her needs. Maybe I had been so focused on the big picture that I ignored the little things that matter the most. I didn't know, I whispered, the guilt creeping in. I didn't know. She never told me she was unhappy. She never said anything. That's just it, Claire said, her voice sad but understanding. She didn't know how to tell you. And when she did try, it was too late. She didn't know how to fix it. She didn't know how to make you see her. And then she met someone else. Someone who gave her the attention, the affection, the validation she needed. And before she knew it, she was in too deep. The more I heard, the more the anger inside me began to stir. Emily had been unhappy, and she hadn't told me. She had kept everything inside until it was too late. And then, instead of trying to fix things, she went behind my back, seeking comfort in someone else. I had been blind to her feelings, blind to the cracks in our relationship, and now I was paying the price. Is that why she did it? I asked, my voice shaking. Because I wasn't there for her? Because I didn't give her enough? It's not just your fault, Claire said gently. I'm not blaming you. She's responsible for what she did. She knows that. But what I'm trying to say is that this didn't happen in a vacuum. There were things happening between you two that neither of you addressed. She felt alone. She felt unheard. And when someone else came along who listened, who made her feel seen, it became too easy to go down that path. I sat in silence, the weight of her words crushing me. How could I have missed all of this? How could I have been so blind to her pain? I had been focused on everything but her, everything but our relationship. And now, here we were. Everything we had built together, no, everything I had worked so hard to keep intact, was crumbling right before me. She's gone, isn't she? I asked quietly, the reality settling in. She's already moved on, hasn't she? There was a pause on the other end of the line before Claire answered softly. I'm not sure, but I think she has. She's already seeing him, and I don't think she's looking back. I let out a bitter laugh, the sound hollow. So that's it then? That's the end of us? I'm not saying it's over for good, Claire said, her voice soft, firm. But I do think you need to understand what's happened. She's trying to find herself again, trying to figure out what she wants. And I don't know if she's ready to fix things with you. But I know that you deserve the truth, and I wanted you to hear it from me. I stood up from the chair, my legs unsteady as the gravity of everything crashed over me. I felt the tears prick at the back of my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. I wouldn't let them fall. I wouldn't let her see how much this was breaking me. I had to hold it together. Thanks for telling me, I said, my voice barely audible. I appreciate it. I just didn't want you to be left in the dark, Claire said, her voice sincere. I care about you. You're a good man, and you don't deserve this. I'm sorry. I ended the call shortly after, my mind spinning. I had heard the truth. I had heard everything Emily had been hiding from me. And yet, I still didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to move forward. I didn't know how to fix something that felt so broken. I walked around the house aimlessly, unsure of what I was supposed to do next. I couldn't escape the reality of what had happened. I couldn't escape the feeling that everything I had once believed in, everything I thought I knew, was slipping away. I wanted to scream. I wanted to let the anger and the hurt out. But I didn't know who to scream at. Emily? Her sister? Myself? I had been betrayed in ways I couldn't even begin to comprehend. And yet, I was still here, still trying to make sense of it all. I felt like I was in a haze. I had heard the truth, but I couldn't grasp it. It felt unreal, like something out of a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. How had I missed it all? How had I been so blind to the cracks in our relationship, to the signs that Emily was slipping away from me little by little? I had been so focused on keeping everything together, so obsessed with the idea of protecting our marriage, that I had ignored the fact that it was falling apart at the seams. The house felt so empty now. I could still smell her perfume lingering in the air, still see the traces of her presence everywhere I looked. The empty space where she used to sit, the dishes we used to share, the pictures we'd taken together, they all felt like cruel reminders of what I had lost. I wanted to scream, to shout at the world, to make someone, anyone, understand what I was going through. But all I could do was sit in silence. The house, once filled with the sounds of laughter and conversation, was now a tomb. The silence was suffocating, and it was driving me mad. I spent the next few days in a blur. I went through the motions: work, food, sleep, anything to keep my mind from spiraling. But every moment, every second, was haunted by the thought of Emily. So, the woman I had loved, the woman I had trusted, choosing someone else over me. And then, on the fourth day after my conversation with Claire, Emily came home. I hadn't heard from her since that night, when I walked out of the house, needing time to process everything. She had given me space, which I appreciated, but I had no idea what to expect when she walked through that door. Was she ready to make amends? Was she ready to fix what had been broken? Or was she just here to close the final chapter of our relationship? I was sitting on the couch when she walked in. She looked different. Her hair was pulled back into a messy ponytail, and she was wearing the same hoodie she'd worn when we first met. It was strange, seeing her like this, familiar yet so distant. She looked at me for a moment, almost as if she were waiting for me to say something, to break the silence. But I didn't. I couldn't. Can we talk? She asked, her voice soft but full of hesitation. She stepped closer, her eyes searching mine for something, maybe forgiveness, maybe understanding. But I couldn't give her either. Not yet. About what? I asked, my voice cold, distant. It wasn't what I wanted to say, but it was the only thing that came out. I didn't know how to talk to her anymore. I didn't know how to look at her the same way. She hesitated for a moment, her eyes welling with tears, but she held them back. About us? about what happened. I stood up, feeling a wave of frustration rise within me. I wanted to scream at her, to demand answers. I wanted to yell at her for betraying me, for breaking everything we had, for turning my life upside down. But instead, I just stood there, motionless, staring at her. "What do you want from me, Emily?" I asked, my voice low, but tinged with anger. "What do you expect me to say? You've already made your choice. You've already decided that you don't want me anymore." She winced at my words, but she didn't look away. "I didn't want this. I didn't want to hurt you. I never wanted to hurt you. But I was scared. I was scared of losing you. I was scared of not being enough. And when I met him, I thought maybe it would make me feel better, like I wasn't invisible. But it didn't. It only made everything worse. I hurt you, and I can't take that back." Her confession hit me like a tidal wave. She was admitting it, confessing to everything. The affair, the lies, the betrayal. And it wasn't just about what she had done. It was about the fact that she had felt so lost, so empty, that she had turned to someone else instead of coming to me. "You were scared?" I repeated, almost laughing bitterly. "You were scared of what? Of us falling apart? Of me not being enough? You could have talked to me, Emily. You could have come to me with your fears. But instead, you chose to cheat on me. You chose to throw everything we had away." I couldn't keep the anger from rising anymore. It felt like the floodgates had opened, and all the frustration and pain that I had been holding inside came pouring out. "You didn't just hurt me, Emily," I said, my voice shaking now. "You destroyed everything. You destroyed us. And now you're asking me to forgive you? To forget it all and move on like nothing happened?" She flinched at my words. But she didn't back down. "I don't expect you to forgive me right away," she said softly. "I don't expect you to forget. But I'm asking for a chance. Not to go back to how we were, but to rebuild. To start over. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for time. Time to prove that I can make it right." I stared at her, my mind racing. I had loved this woman. I had trusted her with everything, and now, here she was, standing in front of me, asking for another chance. Part of me wanted to give it to her. Part of me wanted to believe that we could fix this, that we could start fresh and leave the past behind. But the other part of me, the part that had been betrayed, the part that had been lied to, couldn't let go of the pain. I couldn't just forget everything that had happened. I couldn't forget the betrayal, the coldness, the indifference. "I don't know," I whispered, the words barely audible. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again." Emily's face crumpled, and for the first time, I saw the vulnerability in her eyes, the guilt, the regret. She was afraid. She was afraid of losing me, of losing everything we had built. But it was too late. I wasn't sure I could ever go back to that place of trust and love. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice full of sorrow. "I'm so sorry for everything. I never meant to hurt you. I don't know how I can make this right, but I want to. Please, let me try." I stood there, not knowing what to say. The anger was still there, the pain still fresh. But part of me, that part that had loved her for so long, still wanted to believe that we could rebuild. Still wanted to believe that we could start over. But the truth was, I didn't know if I could. I didn't know if I could ever forgive her, if I could ever forget what she had done. And as I stood there, facing the woman I had once loved, I realized something that made my stomach drop. I wasn't the only one who had changed. She had changed too. And I wasn't sure who she was anymore. I wasn't sure if I could ever get back to the place where we were happy, where everything felt right. The days after the conversation with Emily felt like a strange limbo, suspended between two worlds. Part of me still wanted to believe we could work things out, that we could rebuild our relationship. The other part of me, the part that had been shattered by the betrayal, knew deep down that I wasn't the same person I had been before. I wasn't sure I could ever be the same person again. Emily tried everything she could to prove she was sorry. She wrote me letters, sent me texts, and even showed up at my work just to see me. But every time I looked at her, the memory of her words, of her betrayal, flooded back. "He doesn't deserve intimacy with me." Her voice echoed in my mind like a broken record, tainting everything she did, every gesture of apology. The silence in the house grew unbearable. We barely spoke, and when we did, it was forced. The tension was thick, and I could feel it suffocating me. I tried to avoid being at home, spending as much time as I could outside, at work, with friends, anywhere that wasn't with her. But the truth was, I was avoiding the truth. I was avoiding the decision I had to make. One night, I came home late, exhausted from trying to hold everything together. Emily was sitting on the couch, the dim light from the lamp casting a soft glow on her face. She looked up when I walked in, her eyes meeting mine with an intensity I hadn't seen in weeks. It was as if she was waiting for me to finally make a decision, to finally decide whether or not she could stay. She didn't say anything at first. Neither of us spoke. The silence between us felt like an eternity, the weight of everything pressing down on us. Finally, Emily spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "I can't keep doing this," she said. "I can't keep waiting for you to forgive me. I know what I did was unforgivable, but I love you. I just want a chance to prove that I can make things right. I know it won't be easy, but I want to try." I stood there, my heart pounding in my chest, knowing the words I had been holding back for so long finally surfacing. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in days, I saw the woman I had once loved. But it wasn't the same. Everything had changed. "Emily," I said, my voice low and heavy, "I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again. But I also know that I can't keep living like this. I can't keep pretending that everything is okay when it's not. So I need to ask myself, what do I want? What do I really want?" Her eyes filled with tears, and she stood up, slowly walking toward me. She reached out for my hand, but I didn't take it. I couldn't. There was too much pain, too much anger still inside me, but I couldn't bring myself to pull away either. I stood there, caught between the person I had been and the person I was becoming. "I understand," she said softly, her voice breaking. "I know I hurt you, and I don't expect everything to be fixed overnight, but please just give me a chance. Please don't walk away from us." The words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of her plea. I wanted to tell her that I would try, that I was willing to fight for us. But the truth was, I wasn't sure I could. My heart ached, my mind raced, and I felt like I was drowning in indecision. I pulled away from her, my gaze shifting to the floor. "I don't know if I can do this, Emily. I don't know if I can forgive you. But I also don't know if I can walk away from everything we had. I'm so lost right now." The silence that followed was thick, almost unbearable. Emily stood there, waiting, her face full of hope. No, but also fear. Fear that I would walk away. Fear that the love we once shared had been completely destroyed. And I realized, in that moment, that I was just as afraid. Afraid that if I let her go, I would be losing something I couldn't get back. Afraid that if I stayed, I would never truly be able to trust her again. I took a deep breath, looking up at her. "I need time, Emily. I need space. I don't know if we can fix this, but I can't make any decisions right now. I'm not ready." Her face fell, the tears falling freely now. "I understand," she whispered, stepping back. "I won't pressure you. I just want you to know that I love you. I will wait for you. Whatever it takes." The words stung, but in a way they also gave me something. A sense of closure. A sense that she wasn't just giving up on me, on us. She was willing to wait. To fight for what we had. But was I? Was I willing to fight for this relationship? For the woman I had once loved? The next few days were spent in silence. We barely spoke, barely acknowledged each other, as if we were both waiting for something to change. But it didn't. I spent most of my time away from home, trying to figure out what I needed, what I wanted. Emily tried to give me space, but I could feel her eyes following me, always waiting for me to make a decision. And I knew I couldn't keep putting it off forever. Then, one evening, just after I came home from work, I found myself standing in front of her, feeling more certain than I had in days. The silence between us had reached a breaking point, and I knew I couldn't keep avoiding the truth. "Emily," I said, my voice steady, though my heart was pounding in my chest. "I've made a decision. I've thought about it, and I've realized something. I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't know if I can ever get past what you've done, but I also don't know if I can live without you. I'm not saying that I'm ready to trust you again, but I'm willing to try. I'm willing to rebuild. But I need you to understand something. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with hope. What is it? I'm not the same person I was before, I said quietly. And neither are you. We've both changed, and we can't go back to what we were. But maybe we can start something new, a new beginning. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm willing to try if you are. The tears that had been threatening to fall finally spilled down her cheeks, but this time, they weren't tears of regret or sorrow. They were tears of relief, of hope. I'll do whatever it takes, she whispered, her voice full of emotion. I promise. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right. And in that moment, as I looked at her, I realized something. Maybe it wasn't about going back to the way things were. Maybe it was about moving forward, building something new from the ashes of what had been. Maybe, just maybe, we could make it work. Have you ever been through something like this? Have you ever faced a betrayal and wondered if forgiveness was possible? Let me know in the comments below. Do you believe in second chances? Can love survive betrayal?